G'day legends, we just finished UFC Vancouver and insane card. Goated card, amazing live stream with the boys as usual. There were literally like two stinkers on this card. Two stinkers out of all of these fights on this card. Absolutely unbelievable. Let us break down not every single fight on the card, but you know, the big moments. You know what we do here, the weekly takeaway and reviews. Before we get into that, I do want to say just a little update on the broken sign. New sign has been ordered. Shout out to everyone in the live streams for actually donating so much money and paying for half the sign. It's going to be a completely custom-made Dougie's Corner sign. It's going to be getting here around October 21st, 22nd, around that date, just depending on Melbourne delivery times, which... if you're from Australia, you know our delivery times are pretty much whatever they feel like. It'll get here when it bloody gets here, mate. That's how the Australian Postal Service treats us. But new sign is on the way, so that ugly dead neon sign will be fixed up. Enough of that. Let's get into the card, boys. Rainier Riddler versus Brendan Allen. Main event. Let's kick it off with that. Rainier Riddler. My God, son. This Dutchman has got quit in him. Dutch. Rainier Riddler. I was worried about this a long time ago when he first got into the UFC. His very first fight in the UFC, I said, dude, he's a quitter, you know, because I had watched him in one championship a little bit. And then I was like, listen, it's going to be GM3, I believe, was his first fight in the UFC. GM3 ain't exactly Anthony Malkin, who is the one championship heavyweight champion. Like, all right, maybe there's going to be a chance of Rainier Riddler quitting against the heavyweight champion. Fair enough. And it's sort of, it got put to the back of my mind because the Riddler just seemed to be charging his way through the UFC. And I think something that happens with a lot of activity during the year is you fall into the hype machine. More and more hype starts to get built around an up-and-coming fighter. And you see this like, the Riddler's gonna be the one to be able to fiddle anybody in front of him. You get sucked into it, right? And of course, then there's Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen is famous for making low IQ decisions. So I thought the way that this fight was going to go down is that it was going to be Brendan Allen that was going to end up in bottom position, throwing up submissions, while Rainier the Riddler is just beating the living hell out of him. I mean, that's what happened. Just how the turntables have turned. It ended up being the Riddler. The Riddler is the one that is just in bottom position, constantly doing the like... It's 2012, not so much, no, more like 2017 MMA. You know, there's been so much old jiu-jitsu in the past that we know works, and the jiu-jitsu player is sitting on bottom, while Brendan Allen, the wrestling, you know, is just happily on top, raining down the damage, and maybe the Riddler will latch up the sub. And there's a moment at the end of the third where you're like, holy shit, maybe he will latch up the sub, but no, it's just been way more control time on bottom position. I mean... to start off the fight, the Riddler did okay in the first round. Honestly, he did okay in the first round, but really after that, Brendan Allen just turned it around and absolutely dominated him, and the Riddler spent too much time on bottom. Now, there's an issue going on here. There's a conversation that was being had in the live streams, right? Did Rainier the Riddler gas out because of all the weight cuts? He does tend to cut quite a bit of weight, and he has had a lot of activity this year. So is that what caused him to gas out? Because let's be honest here, boys, lying on bottom and Anthony Smith maxing, not exactly a thing that's going to gas you out, is it? And yet there we are. The Riddler was clearly exhausted at the end of, I mean, it really started at the end of round 2. He had trouble getting back up. Or was he just making poor fight IQ decisions? That is why he ended up on bottom. I think the fight went this way. He started off with making poor fight IQ decisions, putting him on bottom, constantly looking for submissions, allowing Brendan Allen to beat the hell out of him. And then as that beating is coming and his body is tanking that entire beating, now all the weight cuts are starting to come along. And as we're getting into the 20-minute mark of the fight, which is right at the end of the 4th round, all those weight cuts are starting to be felt, and that cardio to just push through isn't there anymore, even when you are just rolling around on bottom position. They go back to the stool, and Rainier the Riddler's corner to call the fight off, which I do think a lot of corners should do more often. Like, if your fighter is obviously getting the living piss beaten out of you, they should call it off more often. And Brendan Allen gets the big win. Craziness. Craziness to see Brendan Allen get the big win. What's next for Brendan Allen? I wouldn't mind seeing a Brendan Allen versus Robert Whittaker. You know, see if we can fix what happened between Robert Whittaker and Rainier Riddler when Rainier Riddler robbed Robert Whittaker on the judges' scorecards and cheated. Otherwise, Robert would have won that fight. I'm 100% certain of that. I'm not coping at all just because I'm Australian. I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not. But Brendan Allen versus Robert Whittaker. Why not? Let's see that. And now that Fluffy is freed up, I kind of want to see Fluffy Hernandez versus Dricus du Plessis. I really do. I mean, I think Fluffy would have destroyed Rainier Dorito tonight. Easily destroyed him tonight. And I'm very interested to see what Fluffy Hernandez versus Dricus du Plessis will look like in a couple of months' time when Dricus is ready to come back and Fluffy's over his injury. Because I want to know if Dricus has actually improved his grappling at all. We need to test that before we start seeing where does Dricus go in the division these days. Has the grappling actually gotten better or not, Dricus? But that's that. I think that'll do for that main event. It wasn't the most entertaining main event. I'll just be honest. I'm not that big of a fan of grappling on the ground. The first round was kind of cool to see the grappling transitions and to see the jiu-jitsu that was being played, but after that it really was kind of just disappointing, and maybe that's just a little bit of cope. Did horribly on picks as well, horribly, but I think everyone did horribly on picks, but we'll check that. We'll tally them up at the end of the cut. Let's move on to Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Jesus Christ, Dan Mugliata refed this. God almighty. Is this a good time to talk about Dan Mugliata and his refereeing tonight? Yeah, there's also the Carl Nelson and Drew Dober incident where, like, Drew Dober gets given a point, like, straight away, doesn't even think about it. But then on this one, we literally go past the 5-minute mark. And someone correct me if I'm wrong about this down there in the comments. But it was my understanding that if a fighter is poked in the eye or kicked to the groin or whatever happens where they need the 5-minute timeout, I think they're the only 2 instances where you can even get a 5-minute timeout. If we reach the 5-minute mark, the fighter can no longer continue. There's no questions after that. Like, once we get to 5 minutes, the fight is over. And whether or not it is before the first 2 rounds are done, it's a no contest. If it's after the first 2 rounds are done, I believe it goes to the judge's decision. That is how I believe it goes down. But instead, we get the full 5 minutes, and Kevin Holland doesn't know whether he's ready to continue or not, and Dan Mugliata's like, bring in a doctor for a cup shot that goes on forever. What is the doctor going to do? Pull his pants down and have a look at his dick? Like, what is the doctor going to do? So the doctor's asking Kevin Holland, look, can you fucking continue or not, bro? Well, this was actually... the point is, right, at a point, the doctor comes in when they're about to start the second round, is when the doctor comes in, and Kevin Holland is playing this I don't want to fight, I do want to fight game. It's madness. It's at the end of the 5 minutes, it's done, bro. It's done. But this was the second dick kick that had happened in this fight. So if you're going to take a point for the Drew Dober dick kick, surely you're meant to take a point for this dick kick. Because the whole point of you're meant to take a point if the foul was bad enough to affect the outcome of the fight. That is my understanding of why we take points. Because you fouled, you cheated, and even though the fighter can continue, it has affected the fight somehow. Therefore, we're going to take a point away. Well, Kevin Holland is clearly affected by the fight. Like, clearly affected by the kick to the dick. So there should have been a point deducted. Really, really crazy decision-making from Dan Mugliata. However, the fight itself, round 1 was incredibly entertaining. Watching the rolling and the grappling transitions. I think what I hate the most about grappling is when you're just holding someone down and there's like a strike every couple of minutes. Whereas the grappling transitions we saw in round 1 here were super fun because, you know, Malott's looking for something, Kevin's looking for something, he's looking for a way out, and it's nice and flowing grappling. But either way, this was still a super fun fight, and well done to Mike Malott. He ends up pulling it out. Even though, you know, Kevin Holland it's a weird one for me, dude. I feel like Kevin Holland was trying to milk the fight being over. He didn't want it to be a DQ. Well, he wanted it to be a DQ, not a loss. I don't know, man. It was a weird from Kevin. I'm sure getting kicked. I think there are people saying he didn't even get kicked in the nuts. I think he did get kicked in the nuts. At least the shin touched the groin. Like, it's in the groin area. It counts. But it does seem like he was milking it a little bit to try and just collect his paycheck. But it's just, that's a Kevin Holland fight, you know? There's always something like this where you end up questioning Kevin Holland's heart and whether or not he really wants it. And Malott just wanted it today more. Moving on, Marlon Vera versus Ayman Zahabi. This one had some controversy in the live chat. People were scoring it to Marlon Vera. I get it. I see it as a very close fight, but I give it to Ayman Zahabi. I gave Ayman Zahabi round 1. I gave Marlon Vera round 2. Marlon Vera scored the knockdown. And then round 3 ends up going to Ayman Zahabi on my scorecards. I wasn't surprised at all that it was a split decision. That first round and that third round were bloody close rounds. So yeah, I literally said it's going to be an Amin Zahabi split decision. That's not the call that I made. The pick that I made was Amin Zahabi decision. It was an Amin Zahabi decision. I thought it would have been a clear decision. Round 2, Marlon Vera is what surprised me because he came out a lot harder earlier in round 2 than he usually does. You know, Vera usually takes time to get going into the fight. But when they got into the fight and that fight started building, cinema. This from now on, this is what's making this card incredible. Like, even though Holland and Malott was really good, everything down here is just cinema and beautiful. And the war that they're having, incredible. The stare down at the end of the second round, it's giving me Lawler versus McDonald. McDonald? Yeah. Lawler versus McDonald vibes. Like, they are here for fucking war. And it's good to see Zahabi not back up, which is great, because you always question these guys who are on the rise that sort of have that like tappy point strikey sort of a way. You know, just Zahabi's a very smart fighter. Obviously he's well coached as well. Like, he's a very smart fighter, so to be able to actually see him in a war, I think it's something that's going to need him some well needed fans, especially since the Jose Aldo fight. He needs a well needed fan base. Obviously all the Vera fans are going to hate him because that was a robbery. It wasn't a robbery. But that's the thing with Marlon Vera. His whole fight style is to just keep the tape going, keep his opponent at range, and then throw a sort of Cody Garbrandt combination down the middle. And he doesn't mind if they end up hitting the guard of his opponent. He thinks that he's landing. When really, like, there's not a lot that is landing clean from Vera on Zahabi or from Vera on his opponents. You know, like, as the fight goes on, accumulation. But that's why he's sort of got these, like, Sean Strickland decisions where Vera always seems to be like right in the fight, but just not quite there, because it is a lot of like keep you at range, and then, like I said, big fast combination, but it's not landing, you know. And Zahabi felt to me like he was landing more. So I'm not surprised by this being the call, but I can see why some people would say it can't be a robbery. It was a close fight. So robberies can't be a close fight. But this is one of those ones where it's a close fight with a clear winner to me. Good. Let's actually talk about women's MMA. Craziness. Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. I mean, look, it's just a shot straight to the head. All to the head. Jasmine was just scared to throw the takedown. She was scared to throw the takedown, and then she ends up in there with a veteran, just trying to turn it into a boxing match. And the veteran is like, all right, you want to have a boxing match? We'll have a boxing match. Bang, over. There's not a lot to say here. This fight goes for 1 minute and 15. Best women's MMA fight I've ever seen in my life. 1 minute, 15 seconds. All striking, all shots to the head. Beautiful. Move on. Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. Sick fight. Charles Jourdain throws flying knee, cracks Davy Grant. Blood is coming out. We go to the ground. Round one, look at this. Round 1 submission, rear naked choke. Blood is bubbling up out of Davy Grant. Davy Grant's one of those guys where, like, he'll be back. Yeah, he's 39, but he'll be back. But he's in there to fight. He's a hard man to finish. Charles Jourdain gets the round 1. It's almost like knockdown, KO, like guillotine, you know what I mean? Because it happened because of the flying knee. But just sick. Entertainment. Sick. Quick. Beautiful. Loved it. UFC Vancouver. Thank you. Selling us. Just fun. Right, let's move on to Dan Miragliotta's second attempt at ruining everything. Dan Miragliotta's second attempt. Carl Nelson versus Matt Steamroller. I am a big Matt Frivola fan, so I picked him. I did say when I was doing the live stream going into this, I'm picking Matt Frivola straight up out of bias because I love him so much. He always puts on an entertaining fight, dude. And this was an entertaining fight as well in the second and third round. It was entertaining in the first as well. But we got the second and third round to see some Matt Frivola entertainment because of Dan Miragliotta. Carl Nelson drops Frivola. He's on top of him. Ground and pound is happening. Clapper goes. Countdown is happening. Kyle Nelson is raining down ground and pound. There's 3 seconds left on the clock. Dan Miragliotta stops the fight. Now, we are not in Paris where the crowd is just so loud you can't hear over it. There was clearly no bell. Dan Miragliotta obviously stops the fight. And just like what happened down in Australia with bloody Neil Magny, mate, we get a redo. We get a no. I didn't mean to stop the fight. We'll start the second or third round. yet another mistake he had a horrible night out. And Kyle Nelson, this is one of those ones where like it can cost you the fight, dude, because you get an adrenaline dump. You think you've won. You go back to your corner thinking that you've won. As you're heading back to your corner, you give Matt Frivola a little dab up, like all that adrenaline just dumps out. But luckily, Kyle Nelson was able to turn it around. Second round was a little bit closer, you know what I mean? Matt Frivola was in the second round. Third round, again, Kyle Nelson's, and he ends up getting the unanimous decision. Fun fight. Very fun fight. Dan Miragliotta, what are we doing? Let us move on. Speaking of fun fights, good God, Drew Dober. Oh, inject Drew Dober into my veins. He is so fun. This is one of those fights where going into the third, I think I had it 1-1, right? Because Dober's got a bloody nose. Dober's got blood all over his shin. I don't remember exactly how I scored it. Maybe I had Prepelec round 1. No, I think I had Dober winning round 1, then Prepelec winning round 2. And it was because of the visible damage that was on Drew Dober. So we're going into the third round, and this is where the second nut kick happens in the fight, but it's the first nut kick of the night. And there's an instant point deduction. Instant point deduction. So now the third round is about to start, and Drew Dober in his mind is considering could be 1-1, could be 2-0 to me. I don't know what's going on, but Dober goes, fuck it, I'm not leaving this up to the judges. And he charges in and starts putting it on Prepelec, like properly putting it on him. And Prepelec had plenty of time to recover. He wanted to get back into the fight, and that is when we see like just Dober overwhelm Prepelec and beat the piss out of him to come back and get a classic Drew Dober win. I know he's been finished recently so many times, but it is hard to put Dober away. It feels like his chin is made of something special. I get it. There's losses there. But it does feel like his chin is made of something special. It's so fun to watch Drew Dober go for it. Moving on down to Cody Gibson versus Antelegi. I mean, there's not a lot to say here. The fight just starts off and Antelegi just clocks Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson goes down. Ground and pound shots. What do you say? Victory by punch. Victory by punch. ESPN have just done this. It was just victory by punch. Amazing. Amazing. This is what I'm saying. This card. Look at the card. Look at the fights that I'm describing to you. This was an amazing card that was a little bit pulled down by the main event. Bruno Silva versus Hong Song Park. So I picked Hong Song Park because I think he's been looking pretty good except for the Tatsuro Taira thing. And Bruno Silva, I think he's done. You know, Bruno Silva, he got ranked, then he took about a year and a half off, comes back, drops 2 fights. I believe one of them was to Peyton Talbot off the top of my head. I believe it was from let's check. No, Joshua Van and Manel Cap. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm getting them confused. All good. So anyway, he drops 2 fights. And I'm like, he's done. Like the break was bad for him. You know, Hong Song Park, he is on the ascension, even though he just lost one, but he is on the ascension. Bruno Silva is on the way out. No. Bruno Silva, gassed up, ready to go. Out fucking grappling Hong Song Park, out striking him. I'm not saying this because I picked Hong Song Park to win. I'm not saying this at all. I think Bruno Silva's juicing. I think he's juicing. I think he took time off. He came back. He looked terrible when he came back. And now all of a sudden, his back is riddled with back knee. Riddled with it. And he has got insane cardio now to go the full 15 minutes. That's all. That is all I am saying. That's all I'm saying. Bruno? What's that meme that's going around these days? Bruno, I see the back knee. I see what is going on. Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Super fun fight. Insanely fun fight. I keep saying that about, I know I'm a broken record, but it's just true. All the fights are amazing. Again, we've got point down moments. We've got scraps. We've got every single round being intense. I thought Danny Barlow, now my mod in the live chat, Nacho, loves Danny Barlow, always overhypes him. And because Nacho's overhyping him, you know, I have a tendency to like bag him a little bit because it's just funny, the back and forth. But I did think Danny Barlow was like a decent enough prospect to watch, and Jordan Santos was a bit of a nobody. I didn't love the pace of his first fight out of Contender Series in the UFC. But Barlow, man. Barlow is just not showing it. Barlow is like a 1-2 and too much sitting behind and thinking about it and not biting down and pulling on the trigger. And yeah, Jordan Santos like legit won this fight. And I feel like Danny Barlow could have won it if he just put a little bit more pace on him, you know. And coming up a weight class, you'd expect Danny Barlow to carry in a bit of that lighter man skill, but he just he didn't, and he sort of took photos and let the fight slip away from him when he absolutely could have gone just a little bit harder in moments of the fight to just eke it out, but instead, Danny Barlow ends up dropping a decision to Jordan Santos. This fight was the worst fight on the card. Don't bother watching it. Azmat Bekhtov versus Belgari. We all picked Azmat Bekhtov. Literally, we all picked it. I was doing the Tapology Live Picks show. Only 7% of MMA fans picked Belgari. And Belgari just got it done, and got it done cleanly as well. What was the problem here? Bekhtov was too short and didn't know how to enter the range on Belgari. And every single time he tried to, Belgari just sat on the jab. The most underutilized thing in MMA. Just sit on the jab. And Bekhtov just had to keep resetting and rethinking his entries. And I don't mean entries as in like getting on the hips and taking him down. I mean, how do I break the range to get in on Belgari? And then when he did end up breaking the range and Bekhtov is chasing these takedowns, Belgari is getting his ass up against the cage, spreading the legs, getting the hands down, like fighting the takedowns beautifully. Well done to Belgari for getting it done over Bekhtov. I mean, I guess now Belgari steals all that hype. You know, that's the way MMA works. And then finally, Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. Everyone was picking Lisboa. I actually picked Croden, not out of any sort of genius. I just, I don't really care that much about this, so I thought I'd just lean the home team, because home teams usually get nice, easy wins. And, man, Croden just outworked her, just outdogged her. And even this, when you go back and watch this card back for a bit of enjoyment, this is going to be one of those fights that you watch back and actually like soak it in and watch it. Amazing fight, fun. Amazing fight, fun. Shit. Amazing fight, fun. Amazing fight, fun. Amazing fight. Kyle Prepler, amazing fight, amazing. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for this main event being a little bit slow, and I don't mean this in like that mean way of like, ooh, boring. Well done to Brendan Allen. Thank you for taking the fight on short notice. Well done on getting the win over Rainier de Riddler. Well done on literally breaking him to the point where he couldn't even go on anymore. But compared to how amazing the rest of the card was, with how many finishes and wars there were, and stare down moments and point down moments and crazy knees and rear naked chokes with blood going everywhere, like it's just, the card was that good. And then you've got Brendan Allen happily beating the piss out of Rainier de Riddler while he just accepts bottom position. Brings the card down from what was like a 10 out of 10 card to like an 8 out of 10, which is still, I'll take an 8 out of 10 card on a Sunday. Yes, UFC giving me an 8 out of 10 card on Fight Pass where it costs like $10. Yes. Amazing. So that was UFC Vancouver. Shout out to the Canadians. Well done to Brendan Allen. Thank you for taking the fight on short notice. Rainier de Riddler, jiu-jitsu guys, don't just sit on bottom, man. Don't just sit on bottom looking for that sub. You're not Charles Oliveira. That's that. If this is your first time here, g'day, welcome. My name is Dougie. I make an MMA video all the bloody time. I go live all the time as well. If you want to know when I go live, you want to know when a new video drops, hit the subscription button and the notification bell down there to know when that happens. Let me know down there in the comments. How did you do on picks? Let me check how I did. Hang on. 6 right, 7 wrong. I didn't do good on picks this week. 6 right, 7 wrong. That's all right. I'll take 6 and 7. It's an underdog card. What are you going to do? 6 and 7. Well done. How did you do in picks? Let me know about it down there in the comments. What do you want to see for Brendan Allen next? Like, how do we? Oh, I think we should reward Brendan Allen, and we should reward him with a big name, like one of the greatest fighters of all time in Robert Whittaker. He is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. So let me know down there in the comments. How did you go on picks? What do you think about Brendan Allen? How should we reward him? What do you think is next for Fluffy now that Fluffy's left out of the picture? Let me know all that down there in the comments. Like the video if you like the video. If you're one of the bloody legends of the channel, supporting, commenting, watching, all that great stuff, your names are up on the next slide to say thank you. That's it. We're off. UFC 321 this week. It's going to be a great build-up. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Goodbye.